Hi, welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm Tina Howard. I have a fun guest with me today. I have Kay Ankerich with me. Hi, Kay.
Hey there.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I've been chasing Kay for months now because I think she's an interesting person. I became aware of Kay and what she does through my children when they were in the middle school, or maybe when they went back to visit the middle school. Kay, tell us your job title right now.
Well, right now I'm currently an SRO at the Hart County Middle School.
And SRO stands for School Resource Officer.
That's correct.
And does that mean that you're an employee of the school or an employee of the police department?
Well, I'm actually a full-time employee of the police department. However, the school system has contracted with the local police department, and so I guess you could say I'm officially under the Hartwell Police Department because they're the ones that pay my check,
right?
Pay my payroll.
The City of Hartwell Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. And how did you become involved in the school? Is that something you went to AD and said, I really want to work in the school, or is that just an opportunity that popped up?
Well, I could say both, actually. Originally, I was what they call a part-time SRO. They didn't have full-time SROs to start with in Hart County.
Okay.
And we would work there in the school systems, whether it be at the high school or the middle school, part-time on our days off of the road, because I was a road officer.
Okay.
And then an opportunity come up where there was a full-time spot open at the Hart County Middle School, and I asked for the position and was granted the opportunity to go there, and I've been there since September of last year, so I just officially finished my first year there.
That's great. That's great. When I have seen you there, and I've gone to the school to do mentoring and that kind of thing, and when I've seen you at the school, you seem like you really love being there with the kids.
I do. I enjoy being with students. I like that age group and the high school as well. Yeah. I enjoy being around students as far as being able, more on the sports aspect of it than I do, I guess you would say, in the hallways, but either way, I still enjoy it. And
what do you do in the schools? Are you just there to sort of maintain order and in case anybody needs something, or are you just more of a person to kind of watch over things and make sure the kids are good?
Well, safety being first and foremost, making sure the doors are stay secure, make sure that everyone comes in, does check in at the front office, and they have a right to be there, but also, you know, there's a need to be there as well.
Right.
Not just anybody can come in.
That's right.
Making sure in class changes that everything goes smoothly there. Mm-hmm. And then at lunchtime, I stay in the lunchroom for the most part for all 3 lunches and make sure we don't have any issues there.
Yeah.
And then help with before and after school traffic as far as student arrival and then the student departure along with the buses.
That is an exhausting day.
Yes, to say the least, some days are.
And you came straight from there to here to tape this, so thank you.
Well, actually, no, today I worked on the road today as a road officer, so since school's out this week.
I'm sure that's equally exhausting, though.
It can be.
Now, what does being a road officer mean? Are you driving around just kind of making sure everybody's good, or what does that mean?
Well, you're answering calls that come in, and then you're monitoring traffic.
Okay.
And then you go in local businesses, if nothing else, just to do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And then if we have call, like today, for instance, I had a call with wreck, involving a wreck.
Oh, my. And
then we had some, I actually had a homeless person hanging out at a particular location that I was called out to. So it's kind of like, we laugh and say, it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with this line of work. And it's something, every day is different.
I mean,
there's nothing routine.
Wow. That's the truth. Now, how long have you been with the police department?
8 years now.
8 years. Wow. That is great. So you had said something to me at the very beginning of this, that you had a dream and a career in mind, and it wasn't police work.
No, it wasn't actually. I wanted to be a PE teacher and coach either at the middle school or the high school level.
Yeah.
That was my goal. I haven't lost sight of that goal yet. Even though I'm getting older, I still haven't lost sight of it. And being the fact that I'm still in the reserves with the military, I'm currently working on trying to make rank. So I'm having to devote my time to my studies for the testing for that. And once I obtain that rank that I'm after, I'm going to go back to working on the school.
Fantastic.
And trying to get a job.
Is that the Army Reserves that you're in?
No, Air Force.
Air Force Reserves. Wow, fantastic. You're a busy person.
But for the most part, yes, ma'am.
And you're working within the Air Force to achieve rank.
Yes, ma'am.
Which means
Well, it would mean more responsibility and most definitely be more pay as well.
Okay, fantastic. If you're in the Air Force Reserves, are you spending one weekend a month?
Yes, ma'am, and then 2 weeks a year somewhere doing training, on-the-job training.
Wow, that's great. And how long have you done the Air Force Reserves?
I've been in the Air Force Reserves 9 years, and I've spent all 9 years at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta.
Okay.
And I do something totally different. I don't do anything with law enforcement. It's in the dental field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so something different.
That's a different skill set.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay, so now all my wheels are turning. So I'm thinking the police work came about because there was an open job and you thought, okay, I want to do this? Or did somebody come to you and say, hey, you'd be really good at this?
Well, actually, I went to the sheriff and Tommy Whitmire at the county. I was working at the rec department at the time, and I was lining the football field out. But prior to that day, I had asked Tommy about a job. I said, look, have you got a job in dispatching or in the jail? I just want to do something to get in the door with law enforcement, to try it out.
Yeah.
Because I was struggling not being able to pass some tests to be able to teach, because you have to have teacher certification tests, and I struggled with that. I'm not ashamed to tell it. I'm not a good test taker. So. And at the time, he didn't have any openings. He said, but I'll keep you in mind. And I actually thought, yeah, right. And one day I was out chalking or painting the fields for the football program at the rec department, getting ready for the season to start up. And I received a call. And it was Tommy. And he's like, are you still interested in a job? And I was like, yeah, I would be. And he says, well, we have an opening, and the sheriff and I would like to offer you a position.
Wow.
As a road officer. And I'm thinking, not as a jailer, not as a dispatcher, but straight go to school to become all. He said, yeah. He said, only drawback is you have to pass EVOC or you won't have a job, which is a driving course.
Okay.
And it's kind of stressful, kind of demanding, but you can do it. And others went before me could do it. I knew I could do it. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take that. He said, but then we can't start till December. So I said, well, I don't think that'll be a problem. I'm already employed with the county. I'll just be doing a lateral move over to a different department.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be fine with that. So it worked out to where I could transfer over. And
you did well on your driving test.
I did. I passed it.
Was it as nerve-wracking as when you got your license?
It was, because when you first get there, you see all these cones that they warned you about.
Oh, wow.
And you couldn't knock a cone down. And you couldn't go too fast.
Wow.
But you couldn't go too slow.
What kind of stuff did you have to do besides the cone?
Well, you done the parallel parking at the time to the right, and then parallel parking to the left. Then you had to do like a figure eight, and you're going through curves. And they had white cones at the time, and the secret was the white cones are your friends. They have since then, I think, removed them from the course, so you kind of like, you don't have any help. But if you aim for the white cones, you were sure to pass.
You're good.
And that helped me, I guess, the most.
Yeah, that's good. And so you passed and you started working.
Yes.
And what do you remember about your first couple weeks?
Well, at the county, since the county is a little bit different than the city, the county you dealt with more on the civil part. You serve civil papers and you transport. Okay. And I just remember, like, the first day on the job, I had to go up to Rocky Ford Road, and I was with Keith Martin, or not Keith Martin, but Keith Lecroy, which is past now. But anyway, Keith was my first field training officer, and we went up that way to that area, and somebody had went through, I don't know, I'd say probably 25, 30 mailboxes, and they were looking for, at the time, Social Security checks, because they were still being mailed out. Oh, yeah. And they had gotten one of the elderly couples in that area. Oh. So we were going through picking up paper, and I thought, man, how could somebody be so cruel? I know. But once I got into that line of work, I realized there are a lot of cruel people out there that do a lot of cruel things. Yeah, you do. Right here in Hart County. Yeah, you do see the dark side, don't you? Yes, ma'am. Do you ever get discouraged? When you see the same people repeat the same offenses, yes. Because you think, are they ever going to learn? Oof, that would be very discouraging. Because I know at the school I'm always telling the students especially, and adults, it's okay to make a mistake if you learn from that mistake, but if you continue to make the same one, then it becomes an issue. Oof. Yeah, that's good advice. Good advice. And so you've been there 8 years, and so take us back a little bit. I know just by knowing you that one of your
big accomplishments came in high school when you and your basketball team went to the state championship.
In 1989, we went, well, actually, let's back up. In the first 3 years, my freshman year, and then sophomore and junior year, in playing basketball under Eddie McCurley, we didn't get out of the sub-region. Back then, they had sub-region and then region.
Oh, wow.
Before you could even go to state.
Y'all were struggling a little bit.
And we couldn't even get out of the sub-region. And it was so disappointing, and he kept telling us, and thankfully we believed in him, you know, just hang in there. We're getting better. We're going to, you know, we're going to progress. We're going to ultimately, hopefully one day, make the goal of reaching and, you know, winning the state championship. Did we ever think we was going to win it or see that in sight? Probably so-so, we'll say. I won't say I had thought that we'd win the state until we got into our senior year.
Wow.
But we won the state that year, and with a shot that up at North Hall that Kelly Carson took. I never will forget it. My teammate Tammy Maxwell had the shot, give the shot up to Kelly Carson, and she shoots a shot, and it sends us into the state playoffs. Wow. Beating North Hall, which we were not expected to win and beat.
No, Hall County's always had some serious athletes.
And then we went on to play Marist. We played Northwest Whitfield, which was supposed to be one of the toughest competitions that we had. Yeah. They were so confident that they were going to beat us, they already had the newspapers made up before we got there.
Oh my gosh!
And when the Coach McCurley came in the locker room and telling us, that just lit a fire.
Oh yeah.
So we knew then, you know, we had to beat this team. We couldn't let them come in here thinking they, you know, had already defeated us. We hadn't even played
yet. But you know, Marist is a private school, very well-funded private school in Atlanta, and the other one I'm not familiar with.
Northwest Whitfield, which was in Dalton County, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, probably equally funded and trained.
And a big school, and they were good. They were very good.
Yeah.
But they were not unbeatable.
Yeah.
So we went on to beat them, and we ended up playing Stevens County for the championship game. And we played Stevens a total of 5 times that year.
Wow.
Twice in the season, 1 in the sub-region, 1 in the region, and then 1 at state championship.
Wow. You almost got to know those
Exactly.
girls, right?
Some of them we still speak with today.
Oh, funny. That's funny. So Stevens came in second to Hart that year. That's awesome. Do you remember the whole game?
Pretty much so. The score, if I'm not mistaken, was 59-37, I think.
Wow.
We actually got a state ring when we won the championship that year, and I guess the biggest thing was returning back to Hartwell, and people being there at the gym to congratulate us. That was one of the most memorable things I remember.
Wow. Were y'all just partying all the way back on the bus, just so happy?
Yes, we were excited.
Would have been. It would have been. And then you get to the gym, and it's probably late.
Well, actually, we got to spend the night and come back.
Oh, good. It was
the next day, and they were sitting there, and they let us cut the nets down at Hart County too. So
that's great.
It was nice.
How fun! What a good memory. And I guess you're still pretty tight with the group of girls on the team.
Yes, the seniors that year, especially with Tammy and Peggy Maxwell, which were the twins, and then Felicia Daniels and Iris Brown. We just recently had a reunion with Coach McCurley and his wife Kathy. We went to Kateche and had lunch, and then we went back to their house and had dessert. Oh, nice. And I think I ended up spending 5 hours that day. And finally, I had to tell them, you know, look, I do have family, I got to go home, but I hated to leave. Yeah. But the time went so fast, but it was so precious. I just enjoyed the time I had with them, getting them to reminisce back on the days.
Yeah, that's great.
They had some great friends, and some people I'll never forget.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Very fun. And so you had played basketball before high school, or did you just start in the 9th grade?
No, ma'am. I started in the elementary age level. Okay. We played organized basketball at Hartwell Elementary.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
And Coach Woolbright, Lee Woolbright Sr. at the time, he had organized basketball from 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade, and everybody played, and everybody, even the underclassmen, got to come and watch us on Fridays, and you paid a dime to get in.
Wow. So everybody played?
Yes, everybody played. And so he taught us the basics. So I had to give him the credit for starting us out. Yeah. And then by the time we got to junior high, his son, Lee Woolbright Jr. and Coach John Cleveland, they taught us, you know, I guess they we'll say, fine-tune the skills that we have been taught. And then by the time we got to Coach McCurley, we were ready. It was just a matter of plug and play with what the style he wanted for us. So
that's great. That's a great program. I wish they still had that. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't think they do now. I wish we did, though.
Yeah, that's a great experience.
A feeder program is very beneficial.
It is, especially for from my perspective as a young girl in school, because there are just not that many sports, or were not back in the day, that you could choose from. So it's great that you were able to play basketball.
Because 4 of the 5 seniors went to Hartwell Elementary.
Oh, wow.
So we benefited from it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that is great. It's a great story. So when you were a kid, were you athletic when you were little, like elementary school?
Yes, ma'am. I grew up with, I'm the youngest of 5. I have 4 brothers.
Oh, my goodness.
So we played basketball, football, baseball coming up in the rec department.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. And then I remember playing church basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had to.
That's a great thing that still continues, the church basketball.
It is.
That's good. So growing up the youngest of 5 kids and being the only girl?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that like?
Ooh, it was rough. You had to fight and defend yourself.
Did you really?
Continuously.
You mean, did you have to, fight for your supper so nobody?
No, but you had you didn't have to fight for your food, but you had to fight against them to get to do things, especially like if I recall my parents buying 2 motorcycles for my brothers. And I didn't get one, but I'd get on it and want to ride it. And they'd be like, you got to get off, you got to get on. And I'm like, well, you got to catch me. So
who taught you to ride the motorcycle?
I think we pretty much learned on our own, just watching.
Yeah.
And this, if it would go, it'd go. And if it didn't, you'd learn whatever it took to make it go.
That's the same experience I had. A lot of trial and error.
That's right.
That's so funny. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. But, we're so safety conscious now, as we should be. But I can remember getting on what was my dad's little Honda motorcycle and just driving it down the driveway and around the little street. It wasn't a busy street. It was a dead end. So I don't think I'd let my little kid do that now, but at the time.
At the time, we thought we were safe.
We did.
You're not now, though.
No, I know. So did you have go-karts and stuff, too?
We did.
Yeah. So you were one of the guys. I mean, you were rough and tumble probably.
And my father, growing up, made bicycles. Once he retired, and I was in the 6th grade when he retired.
Nice.
And he started making bicycles and selling them to the community.
Nice.
So they bought us a go-kart, not a golf cart, but a go-kart, and it was shape of a truck. So we got to, the body style was over it, so like the shell.
How cute.
So we would ride the go-kart, and then they bought the 2 motorcycles. That's when the boys got the motorcycles, and I had to stay with the go-kart, and I was like, I want to be like them. I want to ride the big boy toys.
That's right. That's good. Now, your dad, shout out to the peeps. Your dad and mom are?
Hobart Sanders and Merle Sanders. My father's deceased, but my mother's still living.
Okay. Good. And your brothers, are they still in the area? Are they all scattered?
Let's see, 3 of them live in the area, and 1 lives in Arkansas.
Okay. That's fun, though. It sounds like a big family. Lots of kids and...
Well, a good bit of grandchildren anyway in the family.
Yeah, that's a lot. And you yourself have a family.
I do. But one of my brothers, some people may not know, is a twin brother. I have a twin. His name is Patrick Sanders. We don't look anything alike. Matter of fact, most people think me and my brother Joe are the twins, but I have to correct people.
That's what. Okay, so you just answered one of the questions I was going to ask you. Tell us something that a lot of people don't know about you, and that you're a twin.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. That's
we grew up, and he was blonde hair and blue eyes, and we didn't look anything alike. Didn't even act alike.
Oh, that's funny. That's wild. I wouldn't have ever suspected that. So neat. So when you were a kid, you were kind of rough and tumble. Did anybody in your family go, Kay, you're the girl, you're supposed to play with the dolls and fix your hair and all that stuff? Or did they just let you be like one of the boys?
They just let me be for the most part.
And when you grew up a little bit, what were your brothers like when the boys started coming around? Were they like, don't you get close to my sister?
No, because I laugh now and tell people, I said, if the ball didn't bounce, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was all about basketball because my mother would tell me in order to get to, for me to go to piano lessons, I would have to be allowed to dribble that basketball to the lesson. That was the deal. You could dribble the ball there and you could dribble the ball back. but you had to go to your lessons or you'd have to put the ball down for the day. So,
oh, wow. You were motivated.
The lady that taught my lessons was there where Arnold Strickland lives now,
okay,
in town, on Benson. So, and I just live right off of Holland, so it wasn't far to go.
But you got to dribble there and
I got to take the basketball with me and dribble there and back, so that was what, I guess, my motivation to get there.
See, I'm going to confess something here. My motivation for taking piano lessons was hash browns from the Waffle House. I know I was a fatty, but I wanted my hash browns, and that was the deal they cut with me.
Hey, whatever it takes.
I think you were better off, but anyway. But so dribbling to and from was your deal, but you did take piano. Good for you.
For a short period of time. And I finally told my mother, I said, I just don't care for this. This is not for me.
Not you?
No.
Do you
I was
ever
not
wish you kept
musically
it up?
inclined. No, ma'am.
Well, here's the thing. You either are musically inclined or you're not. And if you're not, it's kind of a struggle.
Well, it was a struggle for me. So I was doing something I really didn't want to do. And I was like, I just feel like I'm wasting my time and your money.
Yeah, well.
So
you were honest.
They finally let me continue to bounce the ball.
That's awesome.
And it paid off, so I can't complain.
Yeah, it did, I would say. So after high school, what did you decide to do after high school?
I went to, I was afforded an opportunity to go to Truett McConnell College.
Okay.
On a full ride scholarship.
Nice.
Me and Peggy and Tammy Maxwell, the twins.
Yeah.
We all three went to Truett together. And we were roommates.
Okay.
Only ones on campus with 3 in a room.
Yeah.
And it was tight quarters, but we didn't mind, so it worked out good. So
well,
I got to play.
You've been used to being around each other for years.
Yes, it's great. So we got to room together and play together for 2 more years. So
fun.
And then I left there and went to Augusta on another full ride with basketball.
Wow, good for you.
And I got to go to Augusta with a different teammate from Truett at that time, where the twins ended up going to Shorter.
Okay.
And we got to play against one of our teammates, Iris, at Reinhardt.
Oh.
And then again at West Georgia.
That's great.
So,
man, basketball really shaped your life, didn't it?
Yes, it paid for my tuition and books. I was telling somebody today at work, I said, I really can't complain. The only thing my parents had to pay for was the gas and any extra curricular activity things that I wanted to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to what I had to spend now.
Oh, I know.
For my daughter to go.
I know. So. Unbelievable. Well, that is great. That's quite an achievement to get through school on a basketball scholarship, because you're working, you're not only doing your classwork, you have a pretty rigorous training schedule.
Yes, ma'am. It was around the clock. It wasn't easy, that's for sure.
Did they keep tabs on you? Did they make sure lights out and all that kind of thing?
Well, I think at first they did, but once they realized, who they could trust and who was serious about being there, because you had to pass the play. They didn't give you anything.
That's true.
And I didn't want to come back home. I wanted to play ball, so that was my incentive to stay focused. So.
That's good. That is awesome. And then after college?
Well, after college, after staying at Augusta for 3.5 years, and like I said, I struggled to pass the teaching test at the time. So I come home and I went to work. I worked at Tenneco at the time.
So let me ask you a question. With basketball being such a part of your life all the way through school, the pinnacle of your senior year, getting scholarships to Truett McConnell and then Augusta, graduation must have been kind of bittersweet, because you're leaving basketball at that point.
Yes, it was, because that's all I have been doing for years, since 6th grade.
That'd be hard, transitioning away from that and into a job.
It was, but I thought at the time, I said, well, I can go to work and I can still work on trying to pass that test. And I worked a couple of years at Tenneco, and I thought, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to work in a plant. I didn't go to school for this. I decided to join the military.
Oh, yeah?
So I joined the military, went to active duty for a year.
And that was the Air Force?
Yes, ma'am. Went to San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, wow.
I left San Antonio after a year. I was able to get an honorable discharge at the time. I was pregnant with my daughter and married. And things just didn't work out between my husband and I come back home, and I went back to Tenneco to work, because I'm very independent. I didn't want to rely on anybody else or my parents at the time. No more than I had to, so I went back to work, and I worked several years there at Tenneco, and after working 11 years, I thought, again, this is
11
not,
years?
I spent 11 years total at Tenneco. And I said, I do not want to work in a plant for a living.
I'm just going to tell you, that is so admirable to, I mean, you were an elite athlete. So it would be easy for you to say, I don't need to work at this, manufacturing. I am an athlete. But you had a child and you did what you had to do.
I did.
For 11 years.
I worked 11 years there. And one day they told me I was going to have to work a different shift. And I said, no, I'm done with this.
Well, you had a daughter.
So I left there and I ended up going to the rec department.
Okay.
I took a huge cut in pay, but I thought I want to do something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And there was where I got to work with the basketball program, the football program, any program that the rec offered.
Sounds fun.
And it was, and then I got, I guess, to the point where I thought, well, I could be doing a little bit better. I need to do something else a little bit different and a little bit better to better myself. Yeah. And I thought, well, what way can I go and serve the people as well and be beneficial for me and them. Mm-hmm. And that's when the law enforcement come to mind.
Fantastic.
And that's when I was given that opportunity. I thought, this is what I can do.
That's great.
And I went to the academy and I passed the test there. So I knew that, I thought, well, because it would make you to the point sometimes, well, am I just dumb or what? Why can't I pass this test, But when I look back, there are a lot of people that don't pass or struggle passing and are still struggling.
Yes.
But do you give up? And I say no.
Right.
And with that being said, I stayed in law enforcement and I left the county after staying with them for 5 years, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I left the county and went to the city for benefits. Was the only reason I left, because Tommy and the sheriff, I couldn't ask for better bosses. Yeah. But I come and switched to the blue, come to the city to work patrol more and learn how to work the streets more. And I did that. Was on second shift starting out. I got the first shift, and I did that, like I say, for 7 years now. And then when the job at the school come open, I thought, this opportunity. Yeah. I need to go.
Now, your daughter was out of middle school by then.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
She was away. So you didn't go because
she was at Georgia by then. Okay. Because she's on her third year at UGA. So she was already in college when I made that move. And I wasn't there probably 2 months. And they come to me, well, not even 2 months. And they come to me and asked me what I consider being a lay coach. And I thought, wow. This would be a way, get my foot in the door here. Yeah. So I thought, I said, but I got to keep in mind, I got to do my job as SRO first, and then I can, get my time and be devoted to the program then. And they were in agreement with it. So this year I was able to help lay coach with softball, fix to do basketball, and they just recently asked me would I help with soccer.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be a busy year.
It is going to be a busy year.
But fun.
Yes. Well, you do kind of have an empty nest with your daughter.
Being away, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is time to maybe focus on you a little bit and do the things that you want to do.
It is, and that's why I say I'm working on my, trying to make rank with the military. Once I obtain that, then I'm going to get back to the coaching. I really still want to coach. I love to be able to be off in the summers. Yeah. Be off when the students are out.
That'd be nice.
That's one of the perks of being a teacher. So.
Sure.
That site, or that goal's not away yet. Good,
because that sounds really good for you, given your experience coming up. When I think about all that you're doing, that's a lot. No wonder I had to chase you for months to come on here, because you've got the Air Force Reserves, working on the rank, which involves classes.
You do distance learning courses online.
So
yes,
you're
ma'am.
Online working on. So you're a student almost at the same time you're working in the school, but you have a lot going on, and then you're at school, and then you're a lay coach.
Yes, ma'am.
Afternoons. But you're still doing patrol for the city sometimes.
Well, not as often. I like working today with the school being out. I filled in for someone, but so basically, if we work when the school is out, if we don't have enough hours to cover.
Okay. That's great. There is a way. God makes a way for your foot to get in the door, one way or another.
That's right.
You're supposed to be involved with those kids, because opportunities keep happening that put you in places to do that.
That's right.
Which is great. And my kids were just crazy about you, and I don't know how they knew you because you weren't there at that point when they were in school, but somehow they all know who you are. So I think a lot of people in town probably know who you are more than you know who they are.
That may be the case.
Because you probably do have a lot of people that know you. So like it or not, you're famous.
I don't know if I call it famous, but
infamous, baby. All right, so now you have all of these irons in the fire that you're working on, and you're still, that goal of being a coach is still in your mind, still passing that teaching exam.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk about that for a second, because I think this is one thing that, I think people struggle in different ways with things. Understanding that you're not a good test taker, for example, has no bearing on intelligence whatsoever, and I wish kids knew that. So I subbed at the high school for 5 years, a few years ago, and just the ones that did not do well got so down on themselves, and it made me feel so bad because they were intelligent people.
And I see that now in the school system. I subbed as well for years and done that, so I can relate with you. And one of the biggest things I try to tell the students when I see something on that line is, look, just because you didn't pass doesn't mean you're dumb. You just may be slower. Like where you may read something and comprehend it the first time, I may have to read it 3 times before it ever clicks.
Right. I didn't know this about myself until long after school, but I have a hard time listening and learning. I have to see it, maybe read it.
A visual learner, maybe.
Yes. So all of the time I'm in class, it just sounded like the Charlie Brown teacher to me, wah, wah, wah. And I never retained anything from class, ever. And I thought, I'm so stupid, because I get out of class and I can't remember anything. And then I would go home and try to go back over it and would get it. But I felt like I had to do class twice, once in class and once when I got home. And so I always felt like I was not very smart because of that. And now I know it's just I can't process well when I just have to listen. So I think people have to understand that people learn different ways, totally different ways sometimes.
And that's okay. That doesn't make them something wrong with them.
No.
It just makes us different.
Right. And one of my sons gets it all the first time when he hears it, because he's an auditory learner. And so he sat through class and we would say, what, no homework? And he would say, I listen in class. I was never like that. So see, he's totally different. But if he had to read a chapter and internalize it, he'd struggle with that. So different styles.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think, what advice would you give to the kids about that? Would you, because they probably talk to you some.
Basically, like I was saying, number one, never give up, regardless of how hard it may be. And that we all have struggles, just some struggles are in different areas.
That's right.
But that there's help out there, though, and there's people that are willing to help you. You just have to seek that help.
That's right.
And you have to stay focused and positive, because it's easy to get discouraged.
Do you get discouraged about that?
I do at times, because like I said, after you've taken the test, especially so many times, and it's changed. So when I first took it, when I was at Augusta, it was called the Regents.
Right. Yes, I remember that.
And I had been out so long and had taken it so many times that when I went to basic training and come out, I had learned that I had passed. To only be told that I had been out so long when I did go back, that it had changed to the praxis and I would have to take it over.
No, that's terrible.
So I had to retake everything all over.
Ugh, and it was different.
And it was different then.
And you had been out of school for so long. That's hard.
And then it changed again to what they call now the GACE test.
Yeah.
And I have taken the GACE and I wasn't successful. And I thought, well, I'm going to break it up and I'm just going to do one part at a time.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I left off, which was with the math part. And I want to say they've changed some of the math part again.
Oh, gosh.
But I have a friend now that teaches at a manual that's been more than willing to help. I just haven't been able to fit it in my schedule.
Yeah.
And that's Marsha Clearly. She's willing to help me with it. Or Cleveland, excuse me. And I'm going to go back to her once I get through with this military test and start back with it. So
good for you.
But the main thing is not to give up. I don't care how old you are.
Right.
Or where you're at in life. Don't, stay focused and positive and don't give up.
I love that advice. That is good advice. And I love that the kids get to hear that from you. That's really important. Middle school's a tough age.
Yes, I tell them at lunch, and sometimes they look at me like, what are she telling us? But I'll tell them at lunch, go have a good day, go be a sponge and soak it all up. And they look at me, like a deer in the headlight look some days, but I tell them, you're young. This is the time you need to be soaking it up, learning all you can learn. And I always say, don't wait on those teachers to tell you and teach you everything you need to know. It's upon you to go beyond what they're teaching you. Use the technology that's been provided to you by your parents or whomever. And instead of getting on the video games, educate yourself. Learn more about what it is that you're studying. Use your tools, because when I was coming up, and I'm sure you as well, you had encyclopedias. We didn't have phones.
No.
To go look everything up now.
No. We had encyclopedias.
They're more, so much well advanced now than what we were.
Oh, yeah.
They have no excuse.
No, they can find any information at their fingertips anytime they want to. I can't even comprehend that now, much less if I'd had it as a kid. That's amazing. So, you bring up a really important point, because when kids are in middle school, they're kind of receiving the information from the teachers, and it transitions in high school, and it transitions again in college. So the more burden becomes on the student, the teacher does less to make sure that you get it. It has to become you that starts to.
Well, I won't say they do less, because their hands are tied for the structured tests that they're they're graded upon based on how many the students pass. And I think the Hart County Middle School, they do an exceptional job of teaching the students, but at the same time, the student has to be receptive of what's being taught to them.
That's right.
And you cannot just take what you get in the class and expect that to be enough.
No.
You have to go home, and it's kind of like you have to build on that. And getting the students to realize that, I think, is one of the biggest challenges. Because I know I've noticed that with the mentoring program there. I take students now. I have one student in particular. And I spoke with her the other day. I said, look, it's not enough for you to just come here and listen to her teach you. You're going to have to go home and study this. Especially if you want to pass the test. I can tell you all day long, but if you don't want it and you don't put in that extra effort, we're fighting a losing battle here.
That's right. Good for you. You're going to be the best teacher ever.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope I can get, I will get there one day.
You will.
I had to speak in existence.
Yeah, exactly right. Is that sort of a philosophy of yours, that you stay positive and you speak it?
I'm not always positive. I try to stay positive. Sometimes it's easy to be negative.
I know, isn't it?
Yes, I had to speak with a young lady today. The mother brought her up to the PD to speak with her about being disrespectful to her mother. And being obedient to her. And I tried to explain to her, and she wasn't, but I think it was 8-year-old. 8? I think she was 8, and I was like, ma'am, I said, that's one of the commandments, to obey our parents, our mother and our father.
That's right.
And the Lord says you shall. Didn't say you have an option. So I tried to explain to her on her level the best I could. So hopefully it sunk in. I told her, I said, I'll follow up with you within a week. And within hopes that, she's doing better. And if she is, I'm going to reward her, not just to give her something for doing good, but I want her to know that, when you do good things come to you.
That's right.
So.
That's right. That's awesome. Gosh, we didn't have anybody like that in middle school, helping us with things like that. So and on the one side, it's sad that you have to have someone from the police department to ensure the safety of your schools, because you'd like to think they're safe, but look, in 2019, they're not. But that you're able to provide that additional layer is pretty amazing. So that is very cool. Who in your family, I ask people all the time, whose voice do you hear in your head? It might be your mom saying this or your dad saying that, or a grandparent. Was there one person in your family or in your sphere of influence whose voice that you still hear that either encourages you or kind of keeps you on the straight and narrow?
I won't say I still hear, but I'm still reminded, I'll say, was a lady that raised us when we were coming up. She's deceased now, but she was very positive role model for me and my brother, or brothers, I should say. But she would always tell us, you can be anything you want to be. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And she would always say, put the Lord first, and then whatever your dreams are second. And that stuck with me a lot. I will say that. But she would always say, never give up. And there'll be days that people, will do you wrong. and that you just have to forgive and forget. And that's a challenge I deal with sometimes, forgiving and forgetting.
Yeah.
But the older you get, it's more, it becomes more realistic to you, and you see the picture of why you should forgive and forget more, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not easily done, I'll say.
No, it's not. And you know, particularly, there's a lot of antagonism towards authority and police in particular. Do you see that much in Hartwell or no?
Not a lot. You do have some, though, but you know as well as I do, it only takes one officer to make us all look bad in the eyes of some.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is, and I still say, if you're firm, you're fair, and you're consistent, and you know in your heart you're doing the right thing, you know, that's all you can control. You can't control what other people are going to say. You can't control what other people are going to think about you. You can only control what you do. It's in your area and your limits.
You're right. You got some thick skin.
You have to have some in this line of work.
How'd you develop that?
I guess with my mother. A lot of people tell me I'm a lot like my mother, but oh, she's feisty.
You have to be feisty if you're raising 4 boys and a girl.
That's right.
You have to be. So do you think you're like her? Do you see it?
Maybe the hard working part, yes.
Yeah. So she set the tone.
Oh, yes. My mother has worked all her life. She's 81 years old and still working.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Fantastic. Gosh, that is a good role model. That's
and
good.
she always has worked, she always worked 2 or 3 jobs when we were in school.
Yeah.
So I would say she was very dedicated to the work and making sure we didn't do without. We may not got what we wanted all the time, but we certainly didn't go without.
Well, it wouldn't have been good for you if you did.
That's right. We got what we needed.
That's right.
And that was a blessing.
Right. Yeah. Did your mom have a thick skin too? Was she able to kind of persevere and not let people get her down?
She wouldn't let them get her down because she'd fight back.
What's your dad like?
He was probably like the opposite.
Yeah.
He's a little more quieter.
Yeah.
More refraining, we'll say.
Yeah. If you wanted to do something, would you ask mom or dad?
My mama.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Because she could give you the yes or the no.
Well, because she'd be on the go most of the time, so she'd get your answer in the movement.
Yeah.
Not while she was sitting.
She didn't think about it?
Yeah, she didn't have time to think about it.
That's so funny. That's so funny. You had an interesting upbringing, having that many brothers and having such a hardworking mom and dad, and that's great. And was that here in the Hartwell community?
Yes, ma'am, here in town. Matter of fact, I live right now beside my mother in town where I grew up. So.
Oh, wow. What a blessing. That's nice.
Right.
You've seen a lot of changes then.
Yes.
What do you think of when you think of your childhood in Hartwell? Do you have one thing or any particular memory or a place that was kind of your comfortable place or your happy place?
Well, we used to go to the mill pool in the summer, and then my father built a pool in our home.
Oh, nice.
And it was called kind of like the community pool there, so it'd be nothing to have 50 people at our house in a day.
Wow.
And they could come and swim, and he only charged them 50 cents. They could swim all day. And we had a drink machine, candy.
And where was the pool located?
Right in the back at my mother's there in town.
Okay. Well, that was convenient to a lot of people to walk, probably.
Yes. And then he would make bikes, like I said, when he retired, and he would sell bikes. So it was just, I guess, a community hangout. You
know, your dad must have been somebody that really liked kids, too, like hanging out with kids.
He did. After he retired, he worked at Tenneco as well. And then to keep him busy and occupied, he would make the bicycles.
Did he make them from
the bare metal frame up?
Oh, wow. Wow.
I remember scraping frames. Oh, yes, and hanging them up and painting them. But he'd have to get somebody else to straighten the wheels out. He couldn't do the wheels when they get bent. If he would get a used bike, and try and fix it up. Yeah. But a lot of them he'd make from the bare frame up.
Wow. That's a skill.
Yes.
I don't know that anybody knows how to do that anymore.
I have a nephew that works on bikes now. He's just 15, but you'd be surprised what he knows.
Wow. That's awesome. Did your dad grow up doing that kind of stuff with his hands? Was he always working?
No, ma'am. He worked in a plant.
Yeah. So this was just a hobby.
Yes.
That he figured it out. Mm-hmm. That is cool. And that y'all had the swimming pool that had all the neighborhood in it.
That's right. We were they would laugh and tell us we were the rich kids. And I was like, we are far from rich. But if you had a pool back then, you were something,
Well, yeah.
or your friends thought you were anyway.
Yeah, and you had a drink machine too.
Yes.
Nobody had that.
We did have that.
That's funny. I'm picturing that in my head. Kids coming from all over town.
Because see, back then you had the Hartwell Company.
Yeah.
Which was a big plant because you had employed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of those parents worked from 8 to 5 or 7 to 3 or 7 to 4, what have you. And they would drop their kids off. And sometimes they'd come by at lunch and check on them. And then if not, they'd see them that afternoon when they picked them up, when they got off.
That is the best daycare I've ever heard of.
50 cents. You used to stay all day.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever feel like I wish all those kids would go home?
Yes.
I bet.
I won't lie, I did.
Yeah. You kind of want your peace and quiet and your own pool back.
That's right.
Did you have to clean the pool and work on it?
Not too much. My father done that.
Yeah. Because he was retired at that point, I guess. Those are good memories.
It was.
Yeah. That's different in that you had the pool everybody came to.
But now we worked coming up too. We worked at what used to be called Swamp Guinea, which is now Racks, I think.
Racks, yeah.
And
you worked as a waitress?
No, ma'am. I fixed takeout plates. Wash dishes. I never did want to work out in the public with the public there as far as waiting on tables.
Were you too shy?
I just didn't have any desire to do that.
You just wanted to be behind the scenes.
That was fine with me. But I worked from the age of 8 to 18 till I went to school. 8 washing dishes at 8 years old.
So how'd you get there? Your brothers take
My mother worked there too. So
Your mom worked there.
Me and my two of my brothers and I worked there as well. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. That had to be fun though, because a lot of 8-year-olds sit around bored.
Because you made money.
Right.
Taught you how to work.
Who makes money at 8? That's fantastic.
And I can remember a time when the boys went to play for the state championship in '86 basketball team, and I had asked my father, could I go see them play in Atlanta? They're going to be playing at Georgia Tech Coliseum.
Yeah.
He said, you can listen to it on the radio. So we were brought up to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't get off work to get to go?
No, I had to listen to it on the radio.
Oh, gosh. That had to be some good memories, though, working at Swamp Guinea.
It was. Like I said, you learn how to cook.
I bet.
Learn how to clean.
Yeah.
Learn how to interact with other people and earn your own money.
Yeah.
So to go to school and have money in your pocket, that would be some kids that wouldn't have any.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big deal. Those are a lot of good lessons to learn from an early age. When you work in a restaurant, I think a lot of people don't realize that it's 90% cleaning and 10% food. It seemed like to me, when I was in school, I worked at a restaurant too, and it seemed like that to me, that I expected the food part, but I didn't expect so much cleanup. There was so much.
A lot of cleaning, yes.
Yeah. We had to wash the walls and everything. I mean, it was just so much cleaning. So
well, at the time we were there working, Swamp Guinea was a booming business.
Oh my gosh,
It'd be nothing to have 1,000 people on a Friday night and 1,000 on a Saturday night. And all 3 rooms would be full. And they'd be standing in line before 5 o'clock, before the doors open. And after 9 o'clock, they'd still be there.
Wow. Yeah, I remember those days because we would come up on weekends, and I can remember standing in that line every weekend with my aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody. But it was a thing. It was a happening.
Yes, it was.
I can still smell it and see it.
I believe I could too.
Hush puppies and fried fish. That makes me hungry. Well, those are good experiences. Any thoughts on maybe, you have such a big family. Are y'all having grandkids in your family yet?
Well, I do have 2 stepdaughters, and the oldest stepdaughter has got a set of twin grandbabies. So,
wow.
And they're 5-year-olds.
The twins are all over y'all's whole, even it's a stepchild that has twins, which is crazy. But you're really in that twin world with so many twinning things going on. So your college roommates were twins, you're a twin?
Yes.
Now your stepdaughter had twins.
So I told my daughter, I said, maybe you'll have twins one day.
I know, right? That would be awesome.
It skips a generation, they say.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either. I've always heard that. So your daughter is a young adult now.
Yes. She's 20.
Is she? So that's a perfect age to just be on the cusp of everything in your life. So is she a lot like you, tough skin and doesn't let anything bother her, or is she completely different?
She's a little bit different.
Yeah. Mothers and daughters, man, we can never be alike. I don't know what it is.
She's a little bit different than someone like, I'll say.
Yeah. She's a lovely young lady. So
she's a lot smart. I told her, I said, you didn't get your smartness from your mother.
She's smart, huh?
But yeah, she got in Georgia. She done better than I did.
She must have, because I could have never gotten in Georgia today, ever.
No, it's very challenging.
Yeah, not in a million years. So what is she thinking she might want to do? She got an idea yet?
She does. She'd like to be an occupational therapist.
Oh, wow.
Is what she's wanting to do. So she's recently decided she's going to stay and graduate from Georgia and then apply at Augusta for their occupational therapy, their master's program there.
Wow.
And it's very demanding and challenging to get in there as well.
I bet.
She's got a classmate that she graduated with that got in this past year. And it's doing rather well, so
good.
Hopefully she'll be able to get in there. That's what we're hoping for.
That would be good. That's a good career path.
Yeah, anything medical-wise, but that really is. She wants to do a school setting.
Oh.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about that. Mm-hmm. I think about that being more of an elder care thing, but
But you have different ages.
Yeah, you do.
I didn't realize that either.
I didn't think about that. That's interesting. That would be fun. Is she drawn towards elementary school kids or high school kids, or?
I want to say the elementary. She's done a lot of job shadowing.
Oh, wow.
She's done some in different hospital settings, nursing home settings. She's done some at the schools.
Wow.
And she even went to Athens Orthopedic and done some of the hand therapy sessions in there with them.
Nice.
So she's had a broad view of what it is that they offer.
That's amazing, because when we were 20, I don't remember having all the opportunities to figure out, is this a fit, shadowing people. In other words, we just kind of picked a lane and went with it.
Well, I think it's a good idea that you have it that way. Number one, you don't go in wasting your money or your parents' money or somebody's money.
Exactly right.
And then two, it lets you know what to expect going in.
Right, that's right. That's a great
You can't go in and say, hey, well, I didn't know it was this. Well,
so funny enough, when I was in college, the whole time I'm thinking, I want to be an attorney. Like I was ever, going to pass that test. But I really thought I wanted to, because the TV show's out at the time, I guess. But so after college, I went to work for a law firm just to kind of see what it was like. Hated it. Got fired 3 weeks in. 3 weeks in, the guy calls me and he's like, look, we need to talk. And he goes, it's just not a fit. And I go, I know. But I still cried. But still, I'm so glad I did not push for that, because I would have been terrible, miserable, absolutely miserable. Because I'm not a good detail-oriented person, and the law is all about detail.
Oh, yes.
So, boy, I'm glad I found that out.
So job shadow is not so bad.
Not bad at all. It's a great thing. It's a really great thing. So I just admitted I got fired from my first job. Oh, well, it was a learning experience.
That's right.
But
anyway, you learn from it.
Things are so different now that people study things now that are so specific. And back when I was in school, it was the more general, the better. At least that was my philosophy. I thought if I just got something general, that would allow me to do almost anything I wanted to do.
Well, like with her in that occupational therapy, they will do different studies in different areas.
Yeah.
And so you get you get a wide variety of experience that you can utilize.
Right.
Let's say if the school setting fell through, if she could get to that and she needed to go elsewhere,
or if she
has options.
Right, she has options. Because within that specialty, it's pretty broad. The application is pretty broad. So that's very exciting. So can you picture yourself as a grandmother? You kind of already are.
Well,
with your
I already am with my stepdaughter, but
kids?
they're 5.
5. Mm-hmm. Fun age. Fun age. So I guess you're already in that role.
You could say that. I'm not huge into the role because I'm not home a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't get to see them often.
You're a busy person.
But I'm sure when the time with my own child comes,
yeah,
I'll be more attentive, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'll be there.
I'll have to be. That's right.
She will need you. Yeah, that'll be fun. What else do you want to do in your future? Any other future plans besides travel and maybe grandmothering? Anything hobby-wise? You want to fish? You want to spend more time?
I like kayak. Okay. I've never done that, and I think I'd like to.
Oh, yeah?
I like outdoors.
Okay. You're an outdoorsy person.
Yes.
That's good. Anything outdoors.
And I like to run. I like to exercise.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Your commitment to health is really commendable, because a lot of times when you get into your 30s and your jobs and everything, you end up kind of not thinking about your health. You took control of your health I don't know, a year ago, 6 months ago?
Yeah, I had some issues with my thyroid.
Okay. Is that what kicked it off?
I was noticing swelling in my legs, and they were throbbing. And I thought, well, all I'm doing is I'm in this patrol car. It's not like I'm having to work on an assembly line here.
Right.
Stand up on my feet all day and do manual labor. So finally I went to the doctor, and I told Dr. Geringer, and he explained to me he had to do some blood work, and they kind of found out my thyroid had dropped.
Oh, wow.
And we got it elevated. I got to feeling better, and I had put on weight, and I thought, man, I got to lose this weight. I can't stand this. I don't want to be taking medicine all my life.
Right.
Well, I didn't get off of the thyroid pill, but I didn't take a water pill but one day, and I said, I'm going to lose the weight on my own. So I started running.
Now that's okay, but that's a hard thing to do.
It is,
at this
but
point in life.
It is, but you gotta want to do it.
Yeah, you do.
And then once you see, I guess, a picture of yourself with your face all blowed up, and then you see your legs blowed up, that was kind of eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And I had put on weight, and I thought, man, I'm not going down this path.
You are so slender now.
And I was having a time passing my fit to fight test with the reserves on the abdominal circumference measurement. 35.5 for women is high as you can go.
Okay.
And every year I would be on the bubble.
Oh, wow.
I never failed, but I was always the max. I couldn't get any. So I said, So after the first year of the last year I was at 35.5, I went from 35.5 to 33.
Wow.
Then the last one was 32.5.
Wow.
So that was my motivation, part of my motivation.
Yeah.
But I had to give credit to one, Dr. Geringer, for helping me with it.
Yeah.
But I went to the Y.
Yeah. That's fun, isn't it?
Yes. The spin class with Sally Turpin.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Was very good. And the ladies in there.
Yeah.
And then David Leard.
Yeah.
Helped a lot with his class, the kettlebell class.
Yeah.
And I also done the, what was that other class where they had the bands?
TRX?
TRX, yes, on Monday. So I was going 5 days a week.
Wow.
And if I missed, I would feel guilty. And then I would run too.
But you of all people would have the excuse, I don't have time.
No, but the thing was, the time was what the key was. It was at 5:30 in the morning.
No excuses.
No excuse to miss because I have time at 5:30. I have to get up.
Right.
So I had to contribute that to the why for motivating me and getting me started. Yeah. But the biggest thing is having people, surround yourself with people that will inspire you. Okay. And if you want to be motivated with fitness, get with people that are wanting the same thing you're wanting.
Yeah. And
that are positive, because that will help make you better, and you help them. I'm in a group now. We were meeting 5 days a week. Now it's kind of scattered a little bit. We're probably down to 3 days a week now, but we encourage one another. And we were doing Bible verses at the end and have like a little mini motivational devotion like. And it goes back to surrounding yourself with good people and somebody that's going to be an uplifter and a motivator and encourager versus somebody that's going to be a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, exactly.
And that has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And
well, you are a walking testament to fitness right now, because do you have any idea how much weight you lost?
No, I'd say probably about 20, 25 pounds.
But you look so different. So you look younger, you look more energized.
Well, I feel energized. I have a lot more energy. I feel better.
That's good.
It's a blessing to be able to run. That's why I tell people, run, if nothing else, it relieves stress.
Yes.
And you don't have to be the fastest runner. You don't have to be the slowest runner. But main thing is stay motivated. Keep moving. Don't stop. Keep going. Do something every day.
Good advice. Good advice. Kay Ankerich, whether you know it or not, you're a role model.
Well, I appreciate that. I never look at myself as a role model, but I try to be a positive influence anyway.
Yes, you are that. You are absolutely that. Thank you so much for coming on. This hour went like that.
Yes, it did.
And thank you all for joining us this week. This was fun. We'll look forward to seeing you next week on Community Conversations.